because I'm convinced, Alan, that the world has to see, or has to find this kind of mirror, of this cruel society, of our wrong ways we are, and of the illusion of our impression what the world is, and what our own role in this world is. And then we should then we should cut, and then we should start and begin with our own personality.
Yeah, we should stop this fear
Yeah.
to change us.
Yes, and the fear that we have also to be part of the others, because we have to fulfill their own needs and so on. We have to stop that. First, we have to be ourselves. We have to love ourselves, and then we can have love for others. And,
that's it. Yeah.
And this will be the conclusion of our third novel.
And I'm convinced you can't change others.
No,
you only can change yourself.
Yes.
And if you change yourself,
when you change yourself, you become
change others.
Yeah. When you change yourself, you become the other person. We're everybody else's environment. So when we change ourselves, we've changed their environment, which automatically causes them to change. So it's always through you first. Now, when you write the book, is it going to be an English version?
No, not yet, because first, yes, very often influenced by our bad emotions. So bad emotions like fear. The fear is also fear and doubt. Both things. I doubt the situation, and so on. And yes, we feel guilty very, very often. We feel guilty. And you see, if you are influenced by all these bad emotions, how can you be free? How can you find a way to yourself? If you always think, oh, my goodness, I'm a bad person, or I'm full of fear, I don't have any trust in me and myself and in my way. This is also very interesting. If we lose this comfort zone, you know, the own comfort zone we are living. We are always in this protected own room. We are thinking, okay, in this personal room, even if it is a bad situation, even if we don't feel good, it's better than to go outside, to leave the comfort zone, to go outside and to try other things, and to find another truth for us, the truth which could us make very, very happy. But people don't, because they fear. They feel bad and guilty and everything, and they don't do that. One step forward would be very interesting. You have, and we are also, we are trying to consult the industry and the marketeers. What do we say? It would be necessary to go a step forward, one step outside from your daily business and thinking. But you know what the answer is? I fear that I will lose my job if I go outside, if I do another thing, if I try something which needs perhaps a little bit more courage. They fear their job. They fear that they will lose the job. So you see, people are in a wrong way of thinking and acting, and so they won't make really progress and so on.
The magic word is convenience.
Yeah,
the people are just even if they fly with an airplane somewhere, it's convenience. All about convenience. The society is more and more convenience. Yeah.
Because I think it is really very interesting what we are talking about. First, because we are individuals, but we aren't. Because sometimes we don't know who we are really. Means what is our role here on the earth? This is also very interesting. If we say, okay, we have to be here only, and we have to fulfill our tasks. and everyone is observing us, and it's really cruel and an unhappy life, then it's totally a different position we have than if we would say we are part of the universe. We have not only an ego, but we have also a consciousness, and this is very interesting. We have more than an ego. The ego influences us. It's an influence we get from our inner voice, you know. Our thoughts, our inner voice is talking to us every day, and
1,000 times.
Sometimes we just like the damn thing to shut up, wouldn't we?
yes. And this is important. And if you get influenced by so many thrills everywhere in the analog or in the digital world, everyone tries to influence yourself. You will never find your right position in this world. If you are in, and the question you had with the empathy, for example, we should have an empathy if we don't like ourselves, and if we don't know our position here on the world, if we don't know everything. The next question is, everyone sells us another truth. But the truth is not the result of thinkings, but of opinions. We have only opinions.
And opinions are feelings.
Only opinions in the world, and we adapt the opinions, and we think the adaptation of the opinions is our truth, but that's not true. We should, or the society should, start to think themselves, to find themselves the truth for us, for our existence here on the world, and not to adapt opinions, and not to be part of everyone, and to lose ourselves in an enormous way of different influences. And I think so. People must get another relationship to themselves first. I think this is also very, very, very important for our world. We have, if we want to make the world a little bit better than it is, we have to start at ourselves, and then we have to reflect. We have to start here with us.
Not with others.
And not with others. And we should not only have the orientation in the outside. I mean, what is surrounding us, which influences are surrounding us. No, it's much more important to start with us, with ourselves, to say, okay, we are someone. It's a gift to be here.
That's right. And that's exactly true. So that if you're, like I tell people, if you're going to try and find a new partner, a new love interest, you know, a new life partner, you can look at all their traits and say, great, this trait, this is the quality of that trait, that's the quality of that trait. But the end result is are they the qualities that you want? And what's the downside of those traits as what will come out when the person's stressed? So the negative always comes out when they're stressed. Is that something? Yes, I want somebody who is very expressive and outgoing. So, but the downside of that trait is somebody who is a drama queen when they're stressed. You know, do you want to put up with drama? Oh God, no, I can't put up with drama. So really, is that what you want? So you've got to know yourself first, and you've got to know your own traits first, so that you know where you fit on the world scheme. Because I might think that, you know, on a trait, like I might be quite expressive, but to the rest of the world, I'm not so expressive, because in my world, I'm the center of my universe. There's people down that side, there's people on that side, but I don't know all the people, 7.5 billion people on the planet. I've only got those people around me, and I might say, well, I'm about average on all of those, so I'm in the middle here. But yet each of those are going to look at me, and some are going to see me way down one end, and others are going to see me up the other end, depending on where they are. So we have to know ourselves first before we can even start to communicate with somebody else.
It is, yeah.
And especially if we want to communicate in the way that they want to be spoken to. And the best way to handle somebody who's been bullying us is to actually know how to speak to them and change the way we speak to them, and it changes their energy.
But do you have, I'm very interested in this, what you're saying. Do you have, because if you see the goal of the cyberspace in general, so we see the Silicon Valley creates different platforms like Facebook, Google, and so on, only to get the datas from the individuals, only to follow these people for the last issue. It's the controlling of everyone in our world concerning our resources and so on. We have to control people.
Yeah.
Otherwise we see the individuals losing themselves in the cyberspace. We have a universe without any rules
because of their trying out.
Yes, because they are trying out themselves. They are hidden behind a barrier, so they can do what they like to do.
They feel themselves safe.
Yes, and protected. They feel themselves protected behind this wall of this digital world. Do you have, if you see all these items, do you have general solutions how we should react and how we should inform people that they won't get lost, that we won't have more suicides and so on? Do you see any solutions in the world, and if yes, which solutions?
Yeah, the way I look at it is that the communications that we have with people is the foundation of everything, and that's where we're coming back to. With the school teachers I spoke to this morning, they were saying there were a couple of boys in particular. As one, they mentioned that one teacher gets on really well with him. The other teacher doesn't get on well with him at all. And he's great with a couple of the teachers, but really bad with other teachers. And this is in the way in which they communicate, because we all talk the way that we want to be spoken to. So that's the first thing. So we've got so many people now that have got, low self-esteem. And so they take things to heart. They believe that other people are having a go at them. They're taking what's written and putting it into their own words based on their own emotions. So it comes back to, first of all, the person who's on cyberspace needs to, first of all, have some more self-resilience. They have to be, well, we might call it a bit of a thicker skin, so that things that they first hear, they don't take it. Both of you, same as I, we have dry sense of humour. So we will take a bit of ribbing, a bit of, joking. People can say a certain amount of stuff and it won't have an effect on us. Whereas some people, because of their physical aspects, somebody who's like, we've all got the dry sense of humour, the opposite of that are people who take things personally. They hear the slightest thing and they go, oh, you're talking about me. And that was like one of these boys this morning. I saw his photograph. I said, I guarantee that anybody makes a comment, if he thinks it's about him, he will take it to heart. And they said, well, that's one of the problems we've got. And in fact, one of the teachers was talking to his father, his mother, and he was trying to listen to the conversation and said, oh, what are you doing talking about me? But when he saw two teachers talking together, there was a whole bunch of kids around. He went up and went, why are you talking about me? So he's got no self-resilience. He's got low self-esteem. He thinks everybody's talking about him, but not in that, positive way, look at me, I'm great. More in the way, look at him, there's something wrong with him. He's taking a lot of this stuff on before he even knows what the facts are.
And the same is in the cyberspace. Can you imagine if hundreds of people talking about him, not only two teachers, hundreds?
Because that's one of the things. If somebody puts something up on cyberspace, he's going to go, well, are they talking about me? Most of them don't even know who he is and probably wouldn't care if they did know. It's the old story of as they say, in that we go and spend, we work really hard to make money so we can buy things that we don't need to impress other people, and to impress people that we probably wouldn't like if we did know them in the first place. So, and that's the way most people, a lot of us, a lot of the world runs their lives. It's always on what other people think. Yeah. I went down to the shops the other day. I was comfortable and warm. I got an old daggy pair of tracksuit pants, a top that didn't match, half shaven, and I had to go and get something. So I just got in the car and went. I don't give a damn. Whereas other people would have gone and put their makeup on and got dressed. I'm working a program with one of the schools on the Central Coast, which is about 160 or about 100 kilometres south of where I am. I went down there this morning. We talked about how the teachers are dealing with the kids and working in, but the head teacher I was talking to, they were at a number of sporting events, because this school is a sporting school as well as an academic school. And so they travelled around playing their sports and that with other schools. And he was amazed at how many referees were being bullied by parents of the players and also by the players on the field. So that's a major problem that we have. I've been talking to a gentleman today by the name of Doug Garth. Doug was, he's about 13 years younger than me. When he was at school, he was a bully. And he was on one of our national TV shows about a month ago, where he talked about what he went through. He was one of 6 boys. He's the only surviving boy in his family. 3 of his brothers committed suicide.
Ooh.
So bullying, they were bullied by their father. They became bullies and everything else. And when they weren't big enough to bully others, or they weren't getting the satisfaction from bullying, 3 of his brothers committed suicide. So he was talking from their side of the fence. My argument has always been around bullying. Do not blame. The moment you take sides on any issue, you create a bigger issue, because now you've got warring factions. You've got 2 sides of the argument, and the more people involved in that argument, the more energy that goes into it and the longer it runs. Look at countries that have, Ireland and England. I guarantee in Ireland, the Greens and the Orange, as far as the Catholics and the Protestants, where did it start in the first place? I don't think anybody's got a clue, because it started so far back, but it's been going and going because everybody's taken sides and blamed. So I'm working with Doug Garth to actually put programs together, because I was bullied at school all the way through, and he was a bully at school. And both of us are coming from the same point. Stop blaming people and let's start looking for solutions. So how all this works in that situation, because adult bullying has gone through the roof in Australia. It went up by 38% since last year. The number of instances of a person being bullied online went up 95% month on month since last October. So each month it almost doubles.
95.
That came from the Commissioner for Cyberbullying that we have here in Australia. So that's her statistics that she read out on the news, on the TV program itself. So we have some major issues when it comes to the effects of bullying, and it's all moving more rapidly away from the physical and going on cyberspace. It's bizarre, the behaviour from both parties and how it escalated. And that side of it, I think, is quite important, that how we will talk to somebody face to face is one thing, but how we will talk to somebody on social media or on the digital world is completely different.
Yes, it is.
And the problems that brings out. And I don't know whether, well, I don't have the answers to it. I don't know whether anybody really does, but it gives us an opportunity to raise some really interesting questions that then allows for more discussion and possible research as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Perhaps we also should respect the indicators of the public ego. Indicators means it's an anonymous human being. It is staying anonymous. It's not, we can't identify, or we have not to identify the person. Otherwise, which role does the society play? Because community has another importance in the web than in the analog world, perhaps. What have we learned in terms of our behavior, roles, norms, standards, and so on in the analog world? And why do we forget these roles in the cyberspace? It's also very interesting, because is it a free room, a free universe, digital universe, a parallel universe from our analog world? And what does this mean in terms of messages, for example? You want to reach people with your messages. But otherwise, what you have told now is it's bizarre, the conversation. If you follow these texts, you see what they are doing. And so how have we, perhaps this could be our approach, how have we to communicate?
That's it.
In the digital world? Perhaps we know how to communicate with people in the analog world, but we don't know. And this is the same for the industry, like for institutions, like education institutions, for example.
Or Boston and
Yes. They want to communicate with them, but do we have other methods, or do we need other methods to have the option to communicate with people?
That would be an interesting part of it. When I come back a little bit further and look at how people behave in the analog world, see, when it's we're looking at somebody, whether it be video, and so this is where the digital becomes the same as the analog. When you're looking at video, you've got the expressions, you've got the tone of voice. It's the same. We could be in the same room as we are now on Zoom, but we still get the same, pretty much the same connection, very close to the same as if we were physically in the same room. Now, in that, there are certain masks that we will have in place. There are certain proprieties that we will follow, because when somebody is physically next to us, we're very careful about what we say and how we handle ourselves. On a video, there's a little bit more of a separation, because if it went the wrong way, there's always the hang up button. Then at the same time, what we've actually got is we've got this mask on, but then when we go to the digital world, we no longer have the visual, we no longer have the audio, all we've got is the digital text. And in that, as I put a post up on LinkedIn recently, or Facebook, words are worth 7% of the communication, everything else is the truth. So, because that's the part that's the logical part, is the words that we use. We use words to try and steer conversations, but our face, our body language gives away what we really feel in the moment. We don't have that when we're into the digital world. And as you said, we're anonymous when we're on cyberspace, so people can't see us. And because we can't see them, there's a feeling inside of us that, we're separate from them. And that's when people, they don't need the mask anymore, because the disconnection because of the devices gives us that mask. And therefore the person's true feelings inside are more likely to be shown online. But because we can't express the tone of voice and the body language, we're now only just got the digital side of it, which means we don't have the emotion in there. So we're dependent on the emotion of the person who's reading it. And if they're taking it the wrong way.
So perhaps we should also discuss the question of senses, because you can use all your senses in the analog world. Yes, you can smell, you have the haptic and so on. But in the cyberspace, you can't. You can't smell, for example. You can't, and you can't touch someone. So perhaps this is also a missing. We miss to touch someone. We miss to smell something. So what does this mean for the communication? which are the consequences for the communication if we can't do that? If we are only together in an anonymous world with a perhaps nickname or something else, even as a real person, we have this barrier between us, and so this is a totally other form of communication. But I think, and this is perhaps the conclusion, if there are so many differences in the communication, if there are differences due to the behavior of people in the digital world, in the web, we have also to find different methods how to communicate with these people.
I think that should be the goal for our podcasts. Not only one. This is more one to explain what we do, what we are thinking about, and then we can talk about as you said, about the methods in the next podcast.
Because I think people would
love. This one should be just an overall
general overview.
So I think it's important that people, because this is going out to an audience that will be connected to you, connected to me, and not connected to either of us. Because when it goes out into social media, it'll get shared a lot. That being the case, people need to know who both of you are, your background, what you're actually doing, and they need to know what I do as well. So there's a small segment there that shows the two camps, so to speak. And then from there, we then start talking about, well, okay, in my world, these are the communication skills that we have, and this is why we connect in a certain way. But then you were explaining, when you're on the digital world, that disappears. And now we've got these particular things. And then we start talking about how the two sides of it work together, like we've just been talking about there, where people, when you're face to face with someone, you've got your physical mask on, but then when you're on the devices, that disappears, and that's when other parts of a person comes out. Then we can pose some questions as to, well, why does that happen? How do we actually analyze that, and how can we actually find some tools that remove some of these issues? Because I get an email, I get a message on, say, LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, and it's just a text. I can read that anyway. But then people will start putting all these little emoticons in to try and express the emotion that they don't have with the digital text. The only trouble is, I look at those emoticons and I'm trying to figure out what the hell they're saying, because there's a whole mass of them. And that comes down to interpretation.